Hello, and welcome to the Borealis Experience. I'm your host, Aurora, and I'm very happy to be spending some time with you today. Today's episode, Heartbreak. Have you truly healed from your heartbreak? Yesterday, I was sitting in my truck trying to figure something out with my phone. And from afar, I saw our little neighbor's girl walking towards me, and I just waved to her through the window, and she waved, and I looked back down onto my phone. And then a couple seconds later, my door swings open, and that little girl shouts at me, "Hello, how have you been?" And in that moment, I just thought, wow, I was clearly communicating with my body that I was being friendly but distant, not wanting to really connect. And this little girl just made her way through my invisible boundary, swung my door open, and just totally surprised me. Now, this little girl is approximately 10 years old, 11 years old, and glowing eyes, and so friendly, like running around with an open heart at all times. And after we had like a 15-minute chat, I left driving off, and I thought to myself, wow, this girl hasn't been through a heartbreak yet. This girl hasn't been through really tough situations yet. And now you can say, yeah, there's some girls who go through that and still have that pretty smile on. But with this girl, I know that she's never been through massive pain. And it really made me think on how she approached me, how open-hearted she was and friendly and wanting to connect. And it reminded me of myself when I was that age. And yeah, a couple heartbreaks later, I noticed that I love people, I love connecting, but at times I still have these walls around my heart. My heart can be very open and joyous and light, but there's times when I know my heart is totally clogged up with regret, resentment, fear. And it takes a lot of being aware, running around mindful, and listening to my thoughts and feelings to then open up my heart again. Today's episode is not only for people who recently got heartbroken, got their heart broken, got dumped. It's to all the people out there who ever been through a heartbreak to check in with themselves and find out, am I maybe still clinging on to pain from a decade ago or 20 years ago? Am I fully open and available and friendly and kind and hopeful, fearless, courageous? Or am I still in subtle ways clinging to that pain from back then that totally shaped my mind about what love is all about and the consequences I suffered and the conclusions I've made ever since. So I think I want to call it an inventory check of the heart. And it really doesn't matter if you're married and have kids and feel like, yeah, everything is perfect. It doesn't hurt to go back and check in with yourself. Am I being my best self? Am I trustworthy? Am I trusting others fully? You see, the thing with heartbreak is that we make it all about ourselves. We go into Bert's perspective and try to find out, what did we do wrong? Did we not listen enough? Did we not perform good enough in bed? Did we not get along good enough with the parents-in-law or the siblings or the friends? And it all doesn't matter now. It's done now, you know. You can reflect about these things. You can be aware of certain behavior, but I think you had your reasons too. Like, I think we tend to put ourselves into a victim position or maybe even a perpetrator position and can't really find peace. I've gone through many, many heartbreaks, and the biggest I want to say was in 2014. I had moved to a different country to be with my boyfriend at that time. And after a couple months, it was just fights and very nasty between us. So I had to pack my things and move away. And it took me years and years and years to heal from that pain. Which doesn't mean that for you now it's going to take years and years and years. But what I invite you to do right now is to focus in on yourself and to be totally honest with yourself on how authentic you showed up in that relationship. Maybe you brought past pain from your childhood into that relationship, and you were not able to communicate clearly, feel good about who you are, feel confident about who you are. Maybe you're still struggling with so many insecurities and it was burdened the relationship. I really don't know what it was that made her or him run away or made you guys break up. When you look at your childhood, what is the examples of love that you observed and experienced? In my instance, I can say they were very well functioning on a societal level. They were well functioning when it comes to financial needs, and I always had shelter and clean clothing and awesome food to eat. But on an emotional level, they didn't understand each other. They were too different. My dad is someone who loves heated discussions and loves to have kind of that friction with his partner. And my mom was always more scared and avoidant of that behavior and couldn't clearly communicate her boundaries. And it was just, on an emotional level, it was a huge mess. Which doesn't mean that I'm ungrateful. I have deep respect for both of my parents. But when you're being very harshly honest with yourself, what how did you experience love? How did you define a healthy relationship when you look at your childhood? Is there things that you carry around? Is it shame? Is it sadness? Is it anger, resentment that you might have brought into your last relationship here? Do you distrust your partners because maybe someone in the past has cheated on you, or your parents cheated on each other? So no matter what it is, no matter what your luggage is, when you look back, you have to now focus on liberating yourself from that. Because if you want to live a fulfilled and content life with yourself, this is the work you have to do for yourself. And it is only then that you will attract a person into your life that is really meant to be with you. You know, when I saw that little girl yesterday, I just thought, my goodness, like, she's not wearing any masks. She's totally herself. She thinks she's the beautifulest girl that there is, and she truly is, because that's what she's radiating. And she's just very light and smart and awesome to be around. Can we get back to that self? I'm 120% sure we can. We just have to help ourselves to undig ourselves again from all the mess, from all the masks that we feel we have to wear because we're still not in full acceptance of ourselves. We might have been bullied at school back then. We might have had experiences where we felt deep shame and rejection towards ourselves. But if you carry this into a loving, romantic relationship, it will show at some point. You will either be super jealous, super insecure, or super guarded, and people who are trying to be with you will not be able to reach you. And the painful thing is that sometimes they don't communicate that. Sometimes they just react to your guard and reject you even though you want to be close, or annoy you with painful questions because they want to be close and then you reject them. It's a whole mess when you're trying to be in a relationship with somebody and you're still wounded. You will be bleeding all over that person and your relationship, and all this without your awareness. So this is why I feel so many people wake up one day and are being left alone, are being divorced, because for them it's out of the blue. They can't make sense of the separation. It was all normal, and then from one day to the other she packed her things and left. You were not aware of the red flags, of the little things that accumulated over time, because maybe you have a huge blind spot from back then that you carried into your relationships. And the person that is leaving you is just doing what is best for her or himself. It has nothing to do with your worth. It has nothing to do with you not being lovable. You are so endlessly lovable, and you are so worth it to get to know yourself again and to be completely raw and honest with yourself again. It is only then that we can live at peace with ourselves. It is then we can sometimes make sense of why a relationship broke up. It is never by blaming the other person and by blaming an entire gender and by going out now still wounded and trying to date and getting more and more disappointed in the end. It is all about going within and seeing what still needs to be healed. What is it at the beginning of your guys' relationship that you were so successfully hiding from that person? That over the years came out bit by bit, and then they didn't like what they were seeing because you were putting on a show. You were not being authentic, so the person doesn't really know who you are in the end. And sometimes when it comes to jealousy and depression, insecurities in general, we very successfully hide this from our partners at the beginning. And we think that in putting a lid on and suppressing it and pushing it away, it will go away. But those things want to be addressed deeply and have to be spoken out. I remember I recorded that episode for you about shame and how when we express what we're deeply ashamed of about ourselves to our partners, how we can create deep intimacy. The same goes with your wounded parts, with your stuff that you need to deal with. Once you are aware of that stuff, you can go out there and communicate this to people. And sometimes people are willing to go that path with you and heal together with you because they can relate to your story. And sometimes you will find yourself all by yourself. And this is okay too. This only means that you want to learn to be sufficient, enough, and totally independent. Maybe you've only learned to exist in a partnership, in a family dynamic. Maybe it is time now to realize that you are so endlessly precious, so worthy. You are enough and so strong that you can allow yourself to be independent and to make your own little experiences here and there. I hope I could bring you resolution and healing. I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love you to message me on Facebook or on Instagram and share your pain and what you're going through right now, or what you had to go through in the past, or what you still feel you need to heal. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and to my podcast here on Apple Podcast. And if I was able to touch your heart and to provide you healing, please leave me a review on Apple Podcast. It would mean the world to me. And if you have any questions, shoot me a message on Facebook always. And I will be out there very soon again for you. And I will post more episodes about heartbreaks because I feel it's very important to talk about it and to once and for all heal and not run around with a half-broken heart and keep being disappointed or keep hurting other people. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for listening to the Borealis Experience here. I'm your host, Aurora, and I will be back out there for you very soon again.